We all know the Islanders have precious little cap space, but here are two ways this team can get better next year, even without a major addition. We'll talk about that and a lot more on today's Locked On Islanders podcast.
Your Locked On Islanders, your daily podcast on the New York Islanders. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
And welcome, everybody, to the Monday edition of the Locked On Islanders podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. I want to thank everyone who makes Locked On Islanders your first listen every day. Don't forget to subscribe on YouTube or wherever you get your podcasts so you can get new episodes as soon as they drop. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Make every moment more. As the playoffs wind down, the sports stop sporting like we want them to. But this summer, FanDuel is hooking up all customers with a boost or a bonus daily. That's right. There's something for everyone every day, all summer long. Just visit FanDuel.com/lockedon to get started. We've got a busy show today, but first, if there's something Islanders related on your mind, if you have a question, a comment, maybe a topic you'd like us to discuss on a future episode, you can email us at lockedonislanders@gmail.com. If you leave your first name and where you're from, we're happy to mention you on the show when we discuss whatever's on your mind. You can also follow the show on X at Locked On Isles, and you can follow me, Gil Martin, on X at Ice Wars, NYR VSNYI. We'll keep you up to date on all things Islanders all year long. During the offseason, that means hirings, firings, trade rumors, free agency, and the draft. If it's happening to the Islanders, we'll have it covered for you here on the Locked On Islanders podcast. And it's always great to talk Islanders hockey with you, game time or anytime. Look, we here at the Locked On Islanders podcast, everydayers know, we've been talking for a long time about this team's need to get younger, faster, and more skilled. That we are stuck right now in the messy middle. And that certainly does not bode well for the New York Islanders. They have an older roster. The prospect pool is ranked at or near the bottom of the NHL. And here's a team that barely squeaked into the playoffs 2 of the last 3 seasons, missed the playoffs the year before, and hasn't won a playoff round now in the last 3 years. So clearly, this team needs to find ways to get better. And yet we all know, due to the way that Lou Lamoriello has managed this roster, as far as no trade clauses and modified no trade clauses, the length and amount of different contracts, and the way he's traded away so many prospects and draft picks and failed to really develop a lot of the prospects in this organization, this team is kind of going to have a hard time really improving this roster, but it isn't impossible. And I do expect, in all honesty, to see the New York Islanders make some moves this coming, let's say in the next 2 weeks, 3 weeks, whether it'll be a trade, a signing of some kind, a buyout, there will be some move made by Lou Lamoriello, I believe, to try to make this team better. Now, will he be able to pull it off? Will it be something that the fans are happy with? That is yet to be determined. And it's even yet to be determined if he's going to be able to pull off anything based on the limitations that this organization has. And again, most of that is because of the way Lou Lamoriello has built this team. But there are a couple of ways that the Islanders can improve, even without making major moves. And I just wanted to talk a little bit about that because I think it's quite important when you break it down. And the first one may be the most obvious. The New York Islanders need a bounce back season from goalie Ilya Sorokin. The numbers don't lie. Sorokin was clearly playing at a better level in each of his previous 3 seasons on Long Island than he was in 2023-2024. He had a 3.01 goals against average, which realistically is two-thirds of a goal higher per game than he had the previous year. In fact, in his previous 3 NHL seasons, his goals against average was never higher than 2.40, going up to 3.01, a big step down. Same thing with his save percentage. He had a save percentage of 918 in his rookie year, 925 in 2021-22, 924 in 2022-2023, and then last year down to 908. His shutouts, 2 last year, the lowest of his 4 NHL seasons. Clearly, I think there were a myriad of reasons, but Ilya Sorokin had an off year in last year. There's just no way around it. So bad, in fact, that by the time the playoffs came around, he was no longer the guy that Patrick Roy, who knows a thing or two about NHL goaltending, he didn't call on Sorokin until game 3 when the Islanders were already down 2-0, and Sorokin really did not do particularly well when called upon, and the Islanders lost the game and eventually the series. If Ilya Sorokin can bounce back, and let's even say he becomes the 2021-2022 Ilya Sorokin, which was, good, very good, in fact, but not as good as the year after that, 2022-2023. But let's even just say he goes back to that level of 2 years prior. The Islanders would clearly be in a better situation than they were a year ago. And, you expect Sorokin to play between 55 and 60 games as far as starts go. You expect him to have a goals against average somewhere in the 2.35 to 2.4 range. You expect him to have a save percentage around 920, give or take a few points here or there. You get me back to those kind of numbers. You get me back to the consistency that Sorokin showed during his previous 3 NHL seasons, and that is worth, without question, 5 or 6 more wins for the New York Islanders, less blown leads. You talk about the Islanders and their overtime losses and how, having 16 overtime or shootout losses was an absolute, it got them into the playoffs, but let's even say you cut that number down to 10. Let's say you cut that number from 16 to 10, and 10 is not a small number, but it's not a huge number. You all of a sudden now get to 100 points last year for the New York Islanders. To me, you get Sorokin back, you get this team maybe up a half a notch. Now, in order to do that, you've got to play better in front of him. And whether that means a healthy and more productive Scott Mayfield could help in that respect. Samuel Bolduc, if he stays on the team and if he takes a step forward, which the Islanders certainly hope is possible, that could certainly help keeping Adam Pelech and Ryan Pollock healthy for a full year, although that may be a very big if. But all of these things are possible ways to get Sorokin better. I think a little bit more confidence. I think he got tired starting, 14 straight games midseason when Semyon Varlamov was injured. So I think the addition of Hogberg, an experienced third goalie in the organization, can help, because if something does happen to Varley, you don't need Sorokin to start every game again like he did a year ago. And just having him face fewer shots per game and fewer high-quality scoring chances per game. Playing the Patrick Roy system a little bit better and more consistently so that you're not facing 35, 40, 45 shots a game. All of these things can help improve Ilya Sorokin's overall play, and therefore the New York Islanders' bottom line in wins and losses. And again, that does not require you to go out and acquire a goal scorer or a puck moving defenseman or another top 6 quality forward. All of those things would help the team. Don't get me wrong. And I hope some of them, if not all of them, happen. But getting Ilya Sorokin back to form is one important way that the Islanders could really help this team succeed. We have got a lot more to get to on today's show. We're going to talk about another way this team can improve next year that is critical. Plus, we'll continue our look at players the Islanders could select in the first round of the draft with Sacha Boisvert, who is a good prospect. And we have our Islanders birthday of the day, a goalie who was with the team for parts of 2 seasons in the very late 1990s, who has the same name as a couple of other Islanders, but is not related to them. We'll see if you can guess who that is. We've got that and a lot more coming up on today's Locked On Islanders podcast. Today's episode is brought to you by your friends at FanDuel. I love sports. I love them so much. I never want them to stop. But as the playoffs wind down, we get fewer games and the sports aren't sporting like I want them to. But FanDuel lets me keep the sports going whenever I want. All I have to do is open the app and dream up bets anytime I'm in the mood. And this summer, FanDuel is hooking up all customers with a boost or a bonus daily. That's right. There's something for everyone every day, all summer long. So you can take a look, for example, tonight, Game 7 of the Stanley Cup Finals. You want to bet on the winner. You want to bet on who wins the Conn Smythe Trophy. Does Connor McDavid win the Conn Smythe even if the Oilers lose? You want to bet on who will score a goal in Game 7. All of these things can be bet on FanDuel. So head over to FanDuel.com/lockedon and start making the most out of your summer. That's FanDuel.com/lockedon. FanDuel, official sports betting partner of Major League Baseball. Are you watching Fox Sports or ESPN on your TV all day? Have to turn down the volume with all that shouting? Make the switch to Locked On Sports Today, a free 24/7 sports streaming channel program for you every day to bring you the biggest stories without all the screaming. Locked On Sports Today brings you can't-miss analysis, opinions, and news streaming 24/7 on YouTube or the free Amazon Fire TV channels app. It's part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. So, another way that the Islanders can clearly improve, and I think this will require some changes in personnel, but it also could be done by some changes in coaching. And to me, it's an obvious one, and that is special teams. If you've been watching the Stanley Cup playoffs, and it's hardly a secret, playing well on special teams is critical in the playoffs to sustaining long-term success. There is no way around that. And the Islanders need to be better both on the power play and on the penalty kill if they hope to get anywhere closer to the better teams in the NHL. And we did see a small improvement on the power play in 2022, 2023. It did rank 30th in the league, only a 15.8% success rate. That went up to 19th, a 20.3% success rate, although it was very inconsistent. It was struggling, then it was good, then it was struggling again. 19th is maybe as low as you can get and still be quote unquote acceptable. I'd like to get into the top half. Get me to 15th in the league, to 12th in the league. Doesn't have to be top 5, but get me to like 22% success rate. Get me into the top half. Get me to a situation where the power play is a bit of a weapon. And I know yes, if the Islanders added another top six forward or two, that would go a long way to helping in that area. But even without it, getting Noah Dobson to be better at puck distribution and at quarterbacking the power play, I think would help. Whether it's Mike Riley or Samuel Bolduc or Sebastian Aho or somebody else on the second power play unit, getting more out of them. And maybe, again, it's something I have noticed every day, as you know, I've been talking about it all year. Moving the puck quickly and moving when you don't have the puck on the power play, making the penalty killers chase and follow and move and get out of position. You tire them out, you make them make decisions, and eventually they will make a wrong decision that will leave someone open and create a quality scoring chance. These are all things that come back to coaching. And again, Islander fans, we are still waiting to hear what's going to happen with John McClain and with Doug Huda, the two assistant coaches in charge of the power play and the penalty kill, respectively. I anticipate we will hear something about both of them within the next week to 10 days. But again, making those decisions with regard to the power play and making them better, there is talent on this roster for the power play, but obviously you're going to want more. You look at the power play goals. Two players had 10, Bo Horvat, Kyle Palmieri. Brock Nelson had 9, and then nobody else had more than 5. Matthew Barzal and Anders Lee with 5 each. You got to get more production from your power play. And then there is the obvious issue of the penalty kill. In 2022, 2023, you had a top 10 penalty kill in the league. 82.2% ranked them 9th. The penalty kill was critical to the team's ability to make the playoffs and their success. Last year, the Islanders were dead last in the league, only a 71.5% success rate. That means 28.5% of the time when the opposing team had the man advantage, they converted. And that's not just the worst in the league this year. That is, pretty close to a top 10 bad penalty kill of all time, or at least since they started keeping penalty killing records. So to me, part of it is personnel. J.G. Pageau didn't have a great year on the PK. I think they missed Zach Parise, who was part of the PK 2 years ago and obviously was no longer with the Islanders this past year. I would not be surprised if Doug Huda, who was in charge of that PK coaching-wise as an assistant, is not back this year. And if he is back, maybe he tries a little different approach to the PK. Having Cal Clutterbuck may not be back next year. Again, you're going to need to find guys who can be on that PK and get the job done. I think, again, a healthy Scott Mayfield helps. Healthy Pelech and Polak can help. But even if Pageau is not back and, you don't necessarily get back Cal Clutterbuck, Simon Holmstrom has proven to be pretty dangerous on the PK. He had 5 shorties last year. And you just need to get, whether it's Kyle McClain, whether it's Julien Gauthier, you need to get some guys who have a little speed and a little tenacity and a little experience killing penalties. The good news is, if you're looking at the free agent market, a bottom 6 forward who can kill penalties is not an expensive proposition. You can get guys like that for very little money, relatively speaking, on the open market. But if you improve the power play to, let's say, 12th in the league or 13th in the league, and you get the penalty kill back to, let's say, 16th, which would place them right in the middle, and you get Ilya Sorokin back to his previous form, the New York Islanders could very well be a better team even without major additions. Now, granted, there are things that may not be replicated from last year. For example, do you expect Kyle Palmieri to stay healthy and score 30 goals again? Maybe not. Is Anders Lee going to continue his decline, or will he bounce back? Will Noah Dobson stay healthy for a full season? Again, all of these things that could minimize or make the team take a step back are also in the mix. But if you get Sorokin healthy and confident and back to his previous level, and you get the special teams back to more respectable numbers, you can improve this hockey team to an extent that would help them solidify a playoff spot before game 80, 81, or 82. And that would certainly be a step in the right direction. All right, we have got more to get to on today's show. We will continue our look at players the Islanders could draft with the 20th overall selection with Sacha Boisvert, plus our Islanders birthday of the day, all that and more coming up on today's Locked On Islanders podcast. Today's episode is brought to you by your friends at eBay Motors. Passion, drive, and patience. The formula for winning championships is also what keeps your ride or die alive. eBay Motors has everything you need to maintain your vehicle and level it up to peak performance. Superchargers, roof racks, exhaust kits, LED headlights, and more. Whether you're into speed, power, or style, eBay Motors has you covered. And with over 122 million parts for your number one ride or die, you'll always find exactly what you're looking for. And with eBay Guaranteed Fit, your part is guaranteed to fit your ride every time or your money back. Because with eBay Motors, you're burning rubber, not cash. With all the parts you need at the prices you want, it's easy to make your car the MVP and bring home huge wins. Keep your ride or die alive at ebaymotors.com. Eligible items only. Exclusions apply. eBay Guaranteed Fit only available to U.S. customers. Locked On has launched the first ever national sports 24/7 streaming channel on YouTube, and now it's also available on Amazon Fire TV and the free Fire TV channels app. Locked On Sports Today is here for you 24/7, covering the top sports stories of the day with the local experts of Locked On, plus our national shows covering every league. Find Locked On Sports Today now available on the free Fire TV channels app. So we continue our player-by-player look at the New York Islanders, some players that they could very well select in the first round with the 20th overall pick in the draft. And again, hopefully this is something that they will be able to do and do it soon, because we haven't had a first round pick and actually used it. Well, it's been 4 straight years. Today, we are going to take a look at Sacha Boisvert, the native of Three Rivers, Quebec, 18 years old, turned 18 in March, 6'2", about 180 pounds, playing in the USHL with the Muskegon Lumberjacks the last 2 years. And he had 36 goals and 68 points in 61 games last year for Muskegon. He was a +5, added 3 assists and 36 penalty minutes in 8 playoff games. And, you know, the thing about Boisvert, in my mind, his best asset is his shot. His skating is not a drawback. It's considered at least NHL average. He's got good but not outstanding hockey sense. He's got good but not outstanding compete level, and he's good with the puck. And as a center at 6'2", obviously he's going to need to weigh more than 175, 180 pounds by the time he's NHL ready. That is something that most 18-year-olds have to do, and that is put on weight. And that is, when I say weight, muscle. That's one of the differences between competing against teenagers in junior and competing in the AHL and then the NHL. A player who he has been compared to by scouts, Josh Norris, that would be a really good comparison. And he is more of a shoot-first player than a playmaker. And I think that's something the Islanders don't have enough of. So clearly you want to get more guys whose mentality is shoot the puck. Don't wait for the perfect play. Shoot the puck and then get those rebounds, deflections, tips, etc. Basically, he uses his size pretty well, and most people project him to be a middle six forward when all is said and done in the NHL. So that's either a second or a third liner. Now, he was an alternate captain also, so he does show some leadership ability, and I think that's an important factor also that the Islanders could use. And he even, in the playoffs, we mentioned that high penalty minute number. He dropped the gloves. He wasn't afraid to do that, and that is unquestionably something the Islanders do need down the road. Now, face-off circle is something he also needs to work on, but that can improve if he adds the strength that we talked about. He is headed to North Dakota, so that is, I think, one of the benefits that he'll have. He is a really good player and, not outstanding, but solid, and somebody who could certainly help the Islanders in 2 or 3 years when he is ready. And I think the NCAA route is a good one for Boisvert. So let's see if he's one of the players the Islanders may take if they hold on to the pick. And again, we'll continue looking at one possible prospect that the Islanders could take 20th overall until the draft. Either they make the selection or they trade the selection. Time now for our Islanders birthday of the day, and Sunday was the 53rd birthday of former Islanders goalie Felix Potvin. Originally a second-round pick by Toronto back in 1990, made his NHL debut with the Leafs in 91-92, joined the Islanders late in the 98-99 season, started the 99-2000 season with the Isles, but then was traded to Vancouver, played for LA and Boston before hanging up his skates after the 03-04 season. And, Felix Potvin never really, he was with the Islanders at a time when they were really struggling. His numbers for his career, really solid. 2.76 goals against average, a 905 save percentage. But with the Islanders, a 3.66 goals against in 98-99, a 3.21 in 99-2000, mostly because he just didn't have the support in front of him on what were some very shaky Islanders teams. One of Felix Potvin's better games with the Islanders, April 12th, 1999, Islanders visiting the New Jersey Devils. Obviously, Felix Potvin, the goalie for the Isles. Martin Brodeur is the goalie for the Devils. And in this game, the Islanders are outshot 57-23, but Felix Potvin makes 55 saves. That's a 965 save percentage. And the Islanders go on to a 4-2 win over the New Jersey Devils. And clearly, Potvin, the difference in this game. Dmitry Nabokov had 2 assists for the Islanders. Excuse me. The goal scorers for the Islanders, Vladimir Orzog, Mats Lindgren, Mike Watt, and Claude Lapointe. But Potvin, clearly the big story there with his 55 save effort. Felix Potvin is our Islanders birthday of the day. I want to thank everybody who makes Locked On Islanders your first listen every day. Everydayers, tomorrow we will be back with another player the Islanders could select in the draft. We will also know who the Stanley Cup winner is. Will Kyle Oposo get that elusive Stanley Cup win in what could be the final year of his NHL career? And we'll have all the latest Islanders news, notes, and happenings. Until then, have a great day, everybody. Stay safe. And of course, let's go Islanders.